Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter now, and welcome to yet another Cutter Top 10 sports video, and we are doing the North. We, the North, the Raptors, baby. As the Raptors ambassador, well, I'm not the global ambassador, but as an ambassador for the Raptors, I gotta be talking about the Raptors, and today we're gonna look at the top 10 Toronto Raptor moments of all time. We did players yesterday, and now we're gonna do moments today in Raptors history. So have been some good ones and some bad ones. Of course, we're doing the great ones. And number 10 is a very underrated buzzer beater from 2008 from Mo Pete, aka Morris Peterson. Morris Peterson was a pretty good player. He was drafted from Michigan State in 2000, like I told you, in the top 10 Raptors of all time. Part of what they called the Flintstones, a group of players like Charlie Bell and Mateen Cleaves, all from Flint, who helped Michigan State win the 2000 title. Raptors drafted him, and he produced quite well. However, in 2008, the Raptors were down by 3 points with like a few seconds left, and a trailing pass was picked off by Washington's Michael Ruffin, who threw the ball high in the air, and then somehow Mopi caught the ball in one motion, shot behind the 3-point line, and scored an unlikely 3-pointer to tie the game. That wasn't to win the game; it was to tie the game, and it was like amazing. The shot was off before the 0.0, so Mopi got it off in time, and the Raptors won the game. Number 9 is the first ever game of Toronto Raptors in 1995. On November 4th, I'd like to say 1990, or 3rd or 4th, 1995, 30 years ago, the Toronto Raptors started off life taking on the New Jersey Nets. Well, the then New Jersey Nets before they went to Brooklyn, but anyway, the New Jersey Nets. The problem for the Raptors is that they didn't have a basketball only stadium arena. They had to play in the Sky Dome, now called the Rogers Center, for their first 3+ years. They even played home game. They played home games at Maple Leaf Gardens, and it made sense because Maple Leaf Gardens actually hosted NBA basketball for the Toronto Huskies in the old NBL in 1946, and also for the Buffalo Braves for 3 seasons. Well, like 15 games of Buffalo's NBA franchise. So anyhow, yeah, that's a lot of things happening at Buffalo in 1995. Yeah, Buffalo had an NBA team, and they did play games at Maple Leaf Gardens because they couldn't get the Buffalo odd. But nevertheless, they played at the Sky Dome, and it was against the Nets. Ironically enough, Toronto's first round pick in the 95 draft, Damon Stoudemire, was a starter and was trying to make the Raptor fans forget about Ed O'Banion because everyone wanted O'Banion because he was the MVP, or what the NCAA calls the MOP of the 95 tournament, in which UCLA finally won a tournament for the first time post John Wooden. And O'Banion conveniently played for the Nets. So anyway, the Raptors played the Nets, and thanks to such stars as Ed Pigney, Alvin Williams, Carlos Rogers, Sean Tabak, and Damon Stoudemire, the Raptors beat the Nets. And gratefully enough, the Grizzlies did so themselves. Their expansion cousins and Canadian cousins, Vancouver, beat Portland on the first day of the season. But yeah, the Raptors were 1-0. They had a terrible season, but hey, you know what? They at least started off with a win, like their brothers from another mother, the Toronto Blue Jays. Number 8 is getting to the NBA Finals in 2019. It was a fantastic moment to be said. Actually, I'm going to make a change. No. Okay, number 8, yeah. Raptors making the NBA Finals. The Raptors were stuck in Nirvana, never making the NBA Finals. In 2019, they would take on the Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Finals. Things didn't start well. The Raptors were down 0-2 coming home to Toronto. They needed something. And game 3 had a double overtime affair. The Raptors could have easily bungled it and gone down 0-3, but they used double overtime, won the game, and lo and behold, they won the next 3. So the Raptors came back from 0-2 to win 4 straight against the Milwaukee Bucks and deny Giannis Antetokounmpo a trip to the final. It was a big moment for Canada because Canada was waiting for an NBA breakthrough. Number 7 is Kyle Lowry helping the Raptors get to the Eastern Finals in 2016. So the Raptors had a massive drought in 2016. Like, they kept making the playoffs, but they kept going out in the first round. Vince Carter screwing them over in 2007, even though the Raptors were division champs. Paul Pierce's block on Lowry in 2014 in Game 7 against Brooklyn, which was seen on ABC, America. And, 2015, they got taken out easily by Washington. The Raptors got through in 2016. They won their first round against the Pacers, and then they took on the Miami Heat, who had D Wade. They didn't have LeBron, and they didn't really have Bosh. Lowry in Game 6 put up 41 points, giving the Raptors the win over the Heat and a trip to the conference finals. Unfortunately, though, LeBron was waiting with his Cleveland Cavaliers and beat the Raptors silly. Number 6 is rebranding the Raptors in 2014. The Raptors had a weird identity and all that. Their jerseys would be weird, especially in the first few seasons with the purple dino on the shirts, like a purple jersey with the T-Rex in it and all that. It looked cool. And, the Raptors were named because of the whole Jurassic Park craze. And then, they wore shirts for Toronto and then red and purple and then black and then white. But in 2014, the Raptors decided to rebrand themselves with the basketball with the Raptor claw in it and called We the North to redefine the identity across Canada and have the team as its symbol of national pride. And Drake is global ambassador because he's from the Toronto area. So yeah, the jerseys would be weird and all that. A lot of people said that their rebrand kind of looked like the Brooklyn Nets stuff. But I mean, who's won an NBA title? We have. So fuck that. Number 5 is winning against Michael Jordan in 1996. The Raptors were a crappy team in 95-96. Well, expansion woes, whatever. I think this was the year that the Grizzlies did better than the Raptors, but nevertheless, on a nice day, March 28th, 1996, or was it 26? I can't remember. I think it was 28. The Raptors were hosting the Chicago Bulls at the Skydome in front of 35,000 plus fans. CTV, one of Canada's major networks, actually would broadcast the game across the country because the Raptors had CTV kind of had some rights to Raptor games. Well, like the new VR or like CFPL had some Raptor coverage and all that too. Anyway, the Raptors would take on Michael Jordan and the Bulls. The Bulls were almost unstoppable. They were trying to get the most wins in NBA history in a regular season. And then on that Sunday afternoon, the Raptors somehow in some way were playing tete-a-tete with the Bulls. It was 109-108 after he shot with like 12 seconds left. The Bulls went down court. Everyone figured MJ was going to get the last shot, but they were blocking MJ quite well. And then Steve Kerr, yes, that's Steve Kerr, took a three-pointer, bounced off the rim, and then Michael Jordan put in the subsequent shot. Bulls win, right? Wrongo. MJ's shot came after the buzzer sounded, which meant the basket was called off, and the Toronto Raptors win 109-108. They shock MJ and the Bulls. They did it in front of over 35,000 fans. Yeah, I know the Sky Dome was terrible for hosting NBA games, but at least they hosted it. And, the fans came out to see MJ and all that. But the Raptors beat MJ. That game, you're thinking, oh, well, that's just one pitiful game. Actually, it actually helped matters later in history. The Bulls did win 72 games to set the new record for most wins in an NBA season. No one hit 70. They would be 72-10. However, the Warriors in 2016 won 73 regular season games. Sure, they lost the final to Cleveland after choking a 3-1 series lead, and the fact that the Bulls did win the title in 96. MJ did it for his father. But the fact of the matter is that if it wasn't for that one Raptors loss, against an expansion team, no less, the Bulls and Warriors would be tied with 73 wins. I mean, the Chicago Bulls of 96 would have been the greatest NBA team ever. And funny enough, then they would have been the only one of the big four record holders to have a title. Baseball, the Cubs of 1906 and the 2001 Mariners had 116 wins. They both faltered. The 1906 Cubs in the World Series to the hitless Wonder White Sox, and the 2001 Mariners couldn't get past the Yankees in the ALCS. And then, you had basketball with the Warriors, 73 wins, but not winning the title. Football, the perfect Patriots in 2007, they didn't win the Super Bowl. They lost to the Giants. And in hockey, the 65-win Boston Bruins of 2023 fell to the Panthers in the first round. Like the Warriors, they had a 3-1 series lead and choked it. So yeah, beating MJ was huge. Number 4 is finally winning a playoff series in 2001. Yeah, it took 6 years to win a playoff series, which is not that long. Several franchises have gone longer, but the Raptors were moving on up. They had expansion pains. By 1999, when the strike-shortened season happened, they were decent. And then in 2000, they got to the playoffs, took on the New York Knicks, and got taken out by them easily. However, in 2001, they went back to the playoffs, and an old friend was waiting, the New York Knicks. The Raptors would be trying their best at the 5 seed to take down those pesky New York Knicks, who were number 4. The Raptors won that series in 5 games. Well, the first round was a best of 5 until 2003 when it was made best of 7. Maybe the Raptors would have won Game 6 on home turf. But yeah, the Raptors went into Madison Square Garden. Alvin Williams was the hero. And the Raptors were going to the second round against the Sixers. And then, of course, Vince Carter with that famous Game 7 performance against the Sixers, in which he actually went to his university's graduation, his UNC graduation, had to leave early to go back to Philly. And then a lot of people blamed him for the loss. I don't. I really don't. Number 3 is Vince Carter's dunk contest in 2000. Vince Carter was in his second year in the league, and he was entered into the NBA Slam Dunk Contest. The 2001 actually was pretty good. Tracy McGrady, his cousin, his distant cousin, and fellow Raptor, was in the competition, as well as Steve Francis and 3 other guys who I can't name off the top of my head. But anyways, Carter in his first dunk decided to slam the ball and go for 360 with a tomahawk, as in he spins one time fully, but then he spun and then he dunked on the right hand side, put it in, and basically Kenny Smith, for TNT said, "Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen, let's go home." He shocked everyone, including Shaq, who had one of those big ass personal camcorders. Everyone was like, "What the hell?" The 360 against the grain. They call it reverse 360 against the grain. And then the second dunk was when Vince Carter decided to bounce the ball out of bounds and then behind the basket and then throw it down with a tomahawk jam, a windmill. And one commentator said, "Well, I guess we now know Toronto's new out of bounds play." Obviously, you can't do that in real life. But in Tracy McGrady, one of the first dunks had to have had someone help him, and T Mac helped him bounce the ball. Vince slammed the ball in, and Kenny Smith said, "It's over, ladies and gentlemen, it's over." Hey, timeout, timeout. You can't take a dunk timeout in a dunk contest. So that only got Vince Carter to the finals of the slam dunk competition. Carter would then, in his first of 2 finals dunks, slam the ball using his elbow and go down into the hoop. All that. On the street, they call it a honey dip. It's a honey dip. Why don't you take a sip? To the left, to the left, to the left, to the left, to the right, to the right, to the right. Yeah, I know I'm doing it incorrectly. It should be this way, then this way. But anyway, yeah, he honey dipped into the basket, and then I can't remember his other slam dunk, but it didn't matter. Vince Carter would win the dunk contest, giving Canada some hope, and then Carter would kind of outdo himself at the Olympics against France in the preliminaries by jumping over 6'9" Frederick Weiss, putting it in the basket, and kind of getting Weiss's confidence down so much he couldn't come over to New York to play for the Knicks. He was still in France. Number 2 is Kawhi Leonard's buzzer beater against the Sixers in 2019. It's the most iconic shot in Raptors history. I can't remember any iconic Raptors shots beforehand. So the Raptors were in the second round against the Sixers, who were playing the Raptors tough. The Sixers were through the trust the process role. And then in Game 7 on home turf, The Raptors and Sixers were playing each other tough. Philly scored a key layup with like 5 seconds left. The Raptors went cross court, cross mid, called timeout, and then set up a play. The ball was thrown to Leonard, took a couple dribbles, and then shot a fadeaway jumper. Boom, like the rim. Bonk, 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 through. And it was a massive wave of emotion at the ACC. Game, series, Toronto has won. The legendary call from Kevin Harlan on that one. Well, for the Americans. I can't remember Matt Devlin's call for Canada, but it doesn't matter. Kawhi Leonard's buzzer beater was amazing. It was akin to Carter's shot for the Raptors against the Sixers 18 years earlier. I kind of made the comment that the ball, and finally, after 18 years, the ball has bounced into the basket. So the Raptors were going to the conference finals, in which they took care of those pesky Milwaukee Bucks. It was a fantastic shot. In fact, Kawhi's shot was only the second buzzer beater in a winner take all elimination game ever. The one beforehand, well, yeah, Michael Jordan's the shot over Craig Elo in 1989 to win Chicago the first round against the Cavs. But number one, you really thought I wasn't going to make this number one, but yeah, it's the Raptors winning the NBA championship. June 13th, 2019 was a massive day in history. For me, it was the day I had to go to the eye doctors and all that. But the fact of the matter is, on that Thursday night, the Raptors had done it. They were the NBA champs. So the Raptors went through an excruciating journey, especially the fact that LeBron had basically made Toronto his bitch. Fortunately for Raptor fans, LeBron decided to get out of his contract with Cleveland and head towards LA for the Lakers. To be honest, Cleveland got screwed, and I'm a Raptor fan. But yeah, seeing LeBron going to the Western Conference actually made the Raptors salivate because, maybe LeBron was basically the only reason why they couldn't get over the hump. They were right. Anyway, the Raptors did well. Golden State was trying to defend their title. They were the two-time defending champions, and they won 3 of the last 4. Of course, their only blemish was 2016. So the Raptors won the NBA championship in 2019. They were the champs. And, they took on the Warriors. They had home court because they beat Golden State by 1 win for home court because it goes to the team with the most wins. So, yeah, the Raptors outdoing their Warriors. That was hard to believe. Raptors split the first 2 games because Iguodala put up a big three-pointer in the second game. Iggy's my favorite Golden State Warrior of that era. Anyhow, the Raptors would then shock everyone by winning games 3 and 4 in Oakland, and then they were up 3 games to 1. They could clinch on home turf. This was when Kevin Durant had that Achilles tear, and a lot of people were actually cheering, which pissed off the Warriors. I get it, but I think it was because they were trying to cheer that for Durant and all that, trying to be sporting and all that. It was just lost in translation. Raptors lost game 5, and then game 6, the Warriors faltered. Well, of course, Klay Thompson also was hurt and had to be carted off in that game. So the Raptors were facing a very injury weakened Golden State Warriors team. Even Iguodala had injury. But the Raptors win by 5 points. They did it. They were the NBA champions, and they crushed it like a grape and made Canada proud to be an NBA, to have an NBA franchise. And of course, stick it to them, saying that we finally did it. The victory parade was given, they gave it a attendance figure of 2 to 3 million people were at the victory parade and all that. So that would have been great and all that. It's the last Canada based title in 2019. As of this taping, the Toronto Blue Jays are trying to aim for the World Series and bring that trophy back to Canada. Will they do it? I don't know. But it doesn't matter. The Raptors did it, and Canada can celebrate a title and not have to wait till the Stanley Cup comes to town. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.